Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday. I'll give it a couple of seconds before everyone comes on, because obviously there'll be vast amounts of people driving on for this. So for those that don't know who I am, my name's James Urquhart. I'm the founder of Rupert, the 24/7 social media assistant helping brands extract more value from their comment section. And every week I come on and give you 10-15 minutes worth of ideas of how you can extract that value with some tips on how to get more from essentially your comment section, which a lot of brands are unfortunately underutilizing, and there's so much value in there which we're just not getting. And this week we're going through the role of comments in building trust, why showcasing positive interaction drives customer confidence, and ultimately we're all trying to do on social media, which is convert and acquire new customers. So every week I start with a little stats, if my clicker's working, which it's not, of course it's not. Here we go. And this week's stat is 60% of people who moan about something on social media want the companies to get back to them within an hour. Unfortunately, this is just society and just human nature now, especially with things like Amazon Prime. We expect instantaneous gratification. When we order something, we expect things to happen so quickly. And unfortunately, this is even more prevalent on social media. When we go on social media and people are asking customer service questions, or they're having a moan about where the delivery is, they expect that response so quickly. And the reason why they go on social to do it is because they know it's not just going to be seen by the brand or the business, it's going to be seen by their customers and their prospects as well, which hopefully means they're going to get back to us quicker. That's not always the case, as we well know. But again, just be conscious that people are going to be jumping on social to make those complaints. They're not going to go on TripAdvisor. They're not going to go on Trustpilot. They will go on social media as well as those other platforms. Here's some examples, and I've got a few examples within this today. I've got 5, I think, in total, of brands who are not building that trust when it comes to the comment section. Now, here I've got 2 examples here, and these are quite extreme examples. One which is LinkedIn, and one which is a Big Bear Events who run running races around the Midlands. Now, on the left, you've got LinkedIn, who, again, they're running paid media. So this is a sponsored ad, and they're using this for people to go and use LinkedIn advertising, which is great. They're using that across Meta, which is fine. But what you'll see here, they've got 2 comments. One, which is someone just saying scammers, should be hidden. There's no point going back to that comment. It's not going to help anyone. They're not going to extract any value from it. It's not going to give any value to anyone that's going to read this. You've then got a charity which is trying to be clever, because what they're doing is trying to get free reach by just putting this under someone that's spending money on advertising. 2 things they could do with this: they could hide it, or they could potentially reply and make some light out of it potentially. But there's no trust there being built. All they're doing is just let it sort of fester and neglecting them. If I was LinkedIn, I'd definitely hide the scammers one. I potentially would look at responding or potentially hiding to the other one. But on the flip side of that, you've got Big Bear Events who have, this is an organic post, someone that, Nicola, I believe it is, has written a bit of a comment. And this comment didn't need to be responded to, but what Big Bear Events have done is they have actually responded. And it's quite a jovial response. But again, it's building that trust. They haven't just left it, which they could have. They've actually responded, and what they're doing is engaging their community, which is what so many brands unfortunately aren't doing. But I've got some more examples of that. So why is this so crucial for brands? As always, I put this into 3. And the first one is social proof equals credibility. People look at how others interact with brands before they're going to make that person's decision. Especially if it's a brand that you've not yet purchased from before, you will, if it's holiday, we'll go on TripAdvisor. But if you're seeing a paid ads, whether it's a jewelry brand, and you see a few comments on there on that particular ad, you will have a quick look. And if there's hundreds of positive comments, it's going to reinforce that purchase decision being made. Actually, yes, this is a brand worth trusting, and actually they're not then going to hesitate. They're going to go ahead and make that purchase, which is what we want. We want them to go and make that purchasing decision. But you've got to remember that social proof, not just from content, but actually from the comment section, is so important when people are making purchasing decisions now. And people are looking. For those that out there that are still thinking that they're not making those decisions and they're not looking, they absolutely are. The second one, are comments are more powerful than ads. So things like UGC content, we've seen the rise of it over the last few years, and it still works really well. UGC content is fantastic, but most people are aware now that most content, user-generated content, there's a commercial gain there for the content creator. We're all aware of this now. So now we're seeing the market become more aware. And we've seen this ourselves from a paid media perspective, what is more trustworthy? Is it a brand saying the product's great from a UGC content creator who we know is getting a commercial gain from it, or 50 people raving about the product in the comment section, which you could potentially repurpose that content? I would definitely say the 50. And again, what you could do is potentially reach out to those and get them to create some content, but then it's sort of going into UGC content. But again, just be careful that UGC content creation isn't the be all and end all. Yes, it works and it still produces a huge ROI, but actually there's some real advocates which are probably sitting in your comment section which you're missing out on, which you need to engage with and actually highlight those guys as well. The third one is engagement fuels the algorithm. Most people will know this, especially brands and marketing managers who are watching this now. The platforms prioritize posts and paid ads with high engagement. And for one reason only. The number one rule of social media is to keep people engaged on the platform. So, for example, if you've got an ad on, say, Meta, say Facebook, and it's working really well, it's keeping people engaged and it's keeping people coming back to the platform, or they're going to give you a better CPM, a better cost per thousand impressions than one that isn't, because you're keeping people on the platform so they don't go across to TikTok or LinkedIn or Instagram. And again, that's the number one rule of social media in its entirety, is to keep people engaged on the platform. And if you do, though, that will happen. You'll get a cheaper CPM, which obviously will give you a cheaper cost per acquisition, or alternatively, you'll get something which I call free reach. So if you've got an organic post that's going really well and people keep coming back to it, they will keep pushing that out. The algorithm will keep pushing that out. And like I said, you get something called free reach. I call it free because it costs us no money, which helps. So here's another example of a brand who, again, they can make so much more out of this, but they haven't. And this was actually in a previous presentation I've done, but it's Howden Insurance. Again, another sponsored ad, paid media, they've put paid behind this. Miles Murphy, who is 91, based on his comment, has actually put on there about his insurance renewal dates. Can someone get in touch prior to that date for a quote? They've neglected that. They never actually respond to this comment. It's really frustrating because not only does Miles not know if they're going to contact him for a quote, which I'm sure they will, but actually they could have made so much more out of this comment rather than it just sitting there neglected. And again, in terms of building trust, they could have done so much more with this. And I believe a lot of brands watching this today, if you go into your comment section, there'll be comments of this nature where, not exactly as this example, but comments where you can use it, you can repurpose it, you can really showcase how your brands deal with customer service questions of this nature. So preventing brand damage on social. So as always, here's 3 tips that you can take away for free and implement, and you will see more value being extracted from your comment section. The first one is pin and highlight positive comments. Not many people know you can do this, but you can. You can pin comments on your ads and your organic posts. So, for example, if someone's really raving about your brand, they've had a really good experience, they've purchased it, they're sort of giving you a testimonial, you could pin that at the top of your post, and you can do the top 3. And actually, you can start having a conversation with them within that pinned comment. Again, what that's going to do is people that are going to see that, the first 3 they see is going to be these pin comments. And again, you want to really showcase not just someone saying how great the brand was, but how you interact with and engage with them as a brand as well. Is very, very powerful, especially if it's on a particular product ad and they're talking about that particular product. Again, very, very powerful. And that's something you can implement today. And it's probably going to take you, depending on how many posts you've got, a couple of hours. But again, if you're trying to use social for acquisition, or getting someone to make an action, whether that be landing page, lead gen, again, very, very powerful. So it's something you can implement. The second one is turn comments into marketing material. So few brands reverse engineer their data into marketing content, and it's a real bugbear of mine. And again, the comment section is rife for it. If you've got people advocating for your brand, your products. Take a snapshot, screenshot, put them in Instagram stories, LinkedIn posts, email content, put it across the board. But just remember that this is free content. We all sit there, most brands, and go, oh, what should we do this month? Well, just literally look at what you've already got available to you. And again, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, especially if you're running lots of social paid media, how many comments you've got on there and people really advocating for your brand. Alternatively, you could actually get the negative ones and put that into content. If you look at Ryanair as an example, how well they've done it. I'm not saying everyone can do that because obviously they've got a very unique tone of voice when it comes to social. But again, they've turned every single comment into marketing material that is getting eyeballs on their brand. The third one is encourage more comments with call to actions. So I see a lot of brands do this a lot, and it looks naff when someone says, hey, have a really cool time, and they go, hey, thank you. Well, thank you, that's okay, and it's great because you've engaged back with them, but why not ask them, well, how did you find your day at this hotel? What was if someone's asking about the paint color of a particular post, it might be, okay, well, where in your house did you put this paint? Or really start asking them, creating those conversations, ask them questions. And if someone's asking about a product, put a URL in that particular in that response and get them to go to where you want them to go. So encourage more comments with call to actions, with questions, and again, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how many people actually come back. Very few don't come back. So again, it's that engagement which plays into what we're trying to do with the number one rule of social media. Here's another example and this one is Monday.com actually. And as always, I'm always surprised with the larger brands that I give examples of. They're running a lot of paid media. They're spending a lot on social, clearly, whether that be retargeting or acquiring new. But they've got so many comments and they're leaving them neglected. And again, this example here is they've got so many comments on they've got 16 on this particular ad, and none of them are responded to by the brand. One, Kevin's responded to Martin, but still, really, really poor. And again, there's some really good comments on here which they could respond to and actually showcase how they operate as a brand. They haven't. They've totally neglected them, which is such a shame. And that is my last example. So I'm going to open up the floor to any questions. I can't actually see how many people are on here. So if you are here, even if you just put hi, that'd be cool, because I don't really get any questions on here very often. While you are typing all your questions, because there'll be tons of them now hitting my screen. As always, we'll be here next Wednesday, 11 a.m. Next week, we'll be discussing how handling high volume of comments, so tools and strategies to actually deal with that, because a lot of brands that are using, for example, Rupert, one of their bugbears in the past was that they just have so many comments, we can't respond to them all, and we can't filter the good from the bad. So again, we're going to be running through how you can help with that, not just using Rupert, but some other tips as well. And also, so that's going to help you scale your engagement as your brand grows. But thank you everyone for listening. And there you go. But I hope you have a good day. If anyone does have any questions, pop me a message on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to respond. But have a great day. And I've got one. Give me a sec. Luke, go on, Luke. You've got 70 seconds, mate. Luke's got a question. I know you can do that. I've got one. Give me a sec. I'm going to wait, Luke, patiently while I have my espresso. You got 50 seconds. I'm nervous now because I hope this one I can actually respond to on this one, Luke. When you say when dealing with ad comments, would you just say dealing with them not work? There's the comment there. How would you respond to in the most ideal way? when you say, sorry, Luke, apologies. I just want to make sure I've got this right. How would you respond to the most ideal way? When it comes to obviously paid, obviously, it's hard to give it an example because there's so many different types of comments that you receive. When it comes to paid media and you're paying to essentially distribute your message and your ad across to new audiences, you've got to remember you're paying for that. And if you're receiving commentary on there, like Monday, we've shown you an example of them. I think it's criminal that they're not responding to any of them, whether it be good, bad, or ugly. You've rushed me. I know I did. Hopefully, I'm answering your question, Luke. But I think it's criminal that they're not responding to them at all. I think that you need to respond to every comment as best you can. The example I gave earlier, if someone just putting scammers on there, that can just be hidden. It's not adding any value to your customers, to your prospects, or you as a brand. But I think especially more so when you're paying to, like I said, distribute that message across social, and you've got, like Monday, 16 comments there, which are, some are giving quite negative feedback towards, if I actually bring it up to give you an example here, go away, AI doesn't like you, and neither do I. Again, that could be hidden. It's not really adding any value. And let Monday get it completely wrong from experience. That's clearly an old customer that's used the platform. I'd definitely go back to them and try and find out why they had a bad experience and just start engaging with them, because that's going to help the algorithm push out further. But also someone that's potentially looking to use Monday would go, okay, well, someone's had a bad experience, but actually they've gone back with some really valid feedback, and they've gone back with some fair answers. So yeah, when it comes to the paid side, like I said, I'm from a paid media purchasing background myself. I've seen the difference of brands that respond to comments in terms of their results. And a good example of that is a brand called CB Heating, who have just been acquired by EDF Energy. We had a post, which is sort of like a top of funnel post, which is trying to get people to understand the difference between oil and heat pumps. And it wasn't a controversial blog, but it was, just one just giving just commentary on the difference. And this post and this ad, had thousands in the end of comments, and it was so good because the brand was going back, other people having conversations in there. It was a pool of engagement, and actually what that did then is it worked so well then for our retargeting ads on middle and bottom of funnel. Now, if we'd have just left that, it wouldn't have worked as well. Whereas actually going back and engaging and really just getting that conversation going made such a difference. And again, if you're running paid media, you're doing it to acquire customers. So it's, again, that's what I'm saying is that, in my opinion, it's criminal that we're using this platform to try and engage people, yet when we get engagement, we don't engage. So yeah, that's what I mean around the paid side. I know I speak a lot about these on the Wednesday about paid media, but you're paying to distribute your message, and if you're not then showcasing how good a brand you are by dealing with these questions and these comments, again, really poor in my opinion. But hopefully that answers your question, Luke. I won't rush you. You can come on next week, man, and give me another question. Hopefully I get it right this time. But thank you everyone for listening, and I will see you next week. Cheers, guys.